I need to confess something. I built a system to test men. Not their ambition, not their charm, not even their loyalty, their kindness. 27 blind dates. 27 men who ran the moment I pretended I couldn't pay for dinner. I would sit there in a cheap diner booth, wearing thrift store jeans and no makeup, playing the part of a woman who worked retail and forgot her wallet. And every time, they failed. Some got irritated. Some embarrassed me. A few paid but never called again. I told myself it proved something, that men only loved money, that my walls were necessary, that Eleanor Pierce, billionaire CEO, would never be loved for just being Eleanor. Then Noah Turner walked in, 6 minutes late, grease-stained shirt, calloused hands, apologizing like he owed me something. He smiled at me like I mattered, not like I was an opportunity. When the check came, I did what I always did. I searched my purse. I let my voice shake. Oh no, I left my wallet. I waited for the shift, the annoyance, the calculation, the disappointment. Instead, he just shrugged softly. Don't worry about it, happens. He paid, tipped well, didn't make a scene. And then, this is what broke me, he stepped outside, pulled out his phone and called his daughter. His voice changed, soft, warm, unfiltered. Hey, Ladybug. Yeah, I'll bring chocolate chip pancakes tomorrow. I love you. No performance, no ego, just love. When he hung up, he looked at me like I was still the only person standing there. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a CEO. I felt seen. But here's the part that scares me. I didn't want him to fail, and that's dangerous. Because if he passes, then I'm the one who has to stop pretending. And I don't know if I'm brave enough for that. I should have ended it that night. That was always the rule. Once a man passed the wallet test, I logged his name, analyzed his reaction, and quietly disappeared. No second date. No emotional attachment, clean, controlled. But I didn't disappear. 3 days later, I found myself driving the old Honda I keep for these tests, rehearsing lies like they were lines in a script. Ellie, retail worker, small apartment, simple life. He chose a diner again, not fancy, not trying to impress. When I walked in, he stood up. Not dramatically, just instinctively, like respect wasn't something he performed. It was something he carried. You look tired, he said gently. Long shift? He remembered my fake job. I nodded. Inventory week. He winced sympathetically. That's the worst. And the strangest thing happened. He didn't try to rescue me. Didn't try to fix my life. He just listened, really listened. When I talked, his eyes didn't wander. His phone stayed face down on the table. His shoulders leaned toward me like I was important. Do you know how rare that is when men know you're wealthy? They don't listen. They calculate. But Noah wasn't calculating. Halfway through dinner, his phone buzzed. He checked it quickly, then smiled. Lily lost her first tooth, he said proudly. Sent me a picture. His whole face lit up. Can I see? I asked before thinking. He hesitated, not protective, just careful, then slid the phone across the table. There she was. 7 years old, big grin, gap-toothed and fearless. My chest tightened. She's beautiful, I whispered. He watched my reaction more than the photo, like he was measuring something. Yeah, he said softly. She is. There was something unspoken in that moment, a silent question. Can you handle this? And for the first time, I wasn't worried about whether he'd pass my test. I was worried about whether I could pass his, because this wasn't just about dinner anymore. This was about a little girl who believed in chocolate chip pancakes, and a man who loved her without armor, and I was standing there still pretending to be someone else. How long could I keep lying before I ruined something real? The third date wasn't supposed to matter. That's what I told myself while I stood in front of my closet, staring at rows of designer clothes I couldn't wear. I chose a soft gray sweater from a discount rack instead. Ellie, remember? When I arrived at the park, I saw them before they saw me. Noah was kneeling in the grass fixing Lily's shoelace. She was talking a mile a minute. He wasn't rushing her. He wasn't distracted. He was present. Something about that undid me. When Lily spotted me, she waved like we were already family. You're Ellie, she shouted, running over. Dad said you're nice. Noah stood up behind her, slightly embarrassed. I might have mentioned you. My heart stumbled. He talked about me, not my money, not my status, me. We spent the afternoon at the playground. Lily demanded I push her on the swings. I laughed more than I had in years, and that scared me, because laughter makes things real. At one point, Lily ran off toward the slide, and Noah sat beside me on the bench. She likes you, he said quietly. I haven't done anything. Exactly. His knee brushed mine. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't intentional. But neither of us moved away. My pulse betrayed me. You don't seem like retail, he added gently. My stomach tightened. What does that mean? He shrugged. You carry yourself differently. Like you're used to leading. For a second I almost told him, almost. Instead I forced a small laugh. Maybe I just fake confidence well. He studied me longer than was comfortable. Not suspicious, curious, like he knew there was more, and was deciding whether to ask. That was the shift. The test wasn't just mine anymore. He was testing something too. Not my money, my honesty. And for the first time since this experiment began, I didn't want to win by lying. But I still didn't tell him the truth. And that choice? That was the beginning of everything falling apart. The fourth time I saw him, he invited me to his house. Just spaghetti, he said casually. Nothing impressive. I almost didn't go. Not because I didn't want to, because I did too much. His house was small, 2 bedrooms, faded paint, a porch that leaned slightly to the left like it was tired. But it felt warm. Lily opened the door before he could. Ellie's here, she announced like it was the best news of her week. That did something to me. Inside, the air smelled like garlic and laundry detergent. There were crayon drawings taped to the fridge. A calendar with soccer practice circled in red. Real life, no assistants, no marble floors. No silence echoing off expensive walls. Noah handed me a wooden spoon. You're on sauce duty. I laughed. You trust me with that? He leaned closer, lowering his voice playfully. I'm taking a risk. The way he said it, light but meaningful, like he was always taking small risks with me, letting me in. At dinner, Lily talked nonstop. About school, about a girl who cheated in math, about how she wanted a dog but her dad said no because dogs cost money and chew everything. I almost said I can buy you 10 dogs. Instead, I just listened. Later, we watched a movie on the couch. Lily curled against my side like she'd known me forever. Noah's shoulder brushed mine. Neither of us moved. The air shifted. Softer, quieter. He looked at me like he was about to say something important, and then my sleeve slid back. The watch. The one thing I forgot to remove. The one thing that screamed Eleanor Pierce. His eyes caught it, just for a second. A flicker, not anger, not accusation, just confusion. That's a nice watch, he said slowly. My heartbeat roared in my ears. It was a gift, I replied too quickly. He nodded. Must have been a big gift. Silence stretched between us. For the first time, I felt the crack forming. Not in my test, in us. And I drove home that night knowing something had shifted. He didn't ask more questions. But he started looking at me like he was trying to see through me, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could survive that. I knew the lie was unraveling. I just didn't expect it to explode. 2 mornings later, a camera flash went off in my face outside a coffee shop. I turned too late. The paparazzo already had the shot. By noon, the headline was everywhere. Billionaire CEO Eleanor Pierce spotted in disguise. Why is tech mogul pretending to be broke? My phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Board members, PR team, investors. But there was one notification that didn't come. Noah. That silence hurt more than the headlines. By evening, someone connected the dating profile, the thrift store outfits, the diners. The articles weren't kind. CEO catfishes blind dates. Rich woman's cruel social experiment. Cruel, that word sat in my chest like a stone. I drove to his house the next day, not in the Honda, in my real car. There was no point pretending anymore. When he opened the door, his expression was controlled. Too controlled. Can we talk, I asked. He didn't move aside. You've been lying to me, he said quietly. It wasn't yelling. It was worse. It wasn't like that, I tried. It was exactly like that. His jaw tightened. You tested me. Like I was applying for a job. My throat burned. I needed to know. Know what? If I'd love you without your money? His voice cracked just slightly. I didn't even know you had money. That hit harder than anger. Because it was true. I thought you were real, he said. I am real, I whispered. The woman I fell for doesn't exist. Fell, the word made my knees weak. He'd fallen. For Ellie, for the version of me that didn't carry a billion-dollar empire on her shoulders. Lily's confused, he added. She doesn't understand why you pretended. Guilt flooded me. I never meant to hurt her. But you did. The door began to close, and I realized something unbearable. I had finally found a man who passed my test, and I failed his. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. The penthouse felt colder than it ever had. Floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights stretching forever. And not one of them felt warm. I kept replaying his words. The woman I fell for doesn't exist. That wasn't true. Ellie existed. She was just buried. On the third night, my phone rang at 11:47 p.m. unknown number. I almost ignored it.
Hello?
Ellie. It was Lily. Her voice was small, shaky. My heart dropped. "Lily, are you okay?" I took Dad's phone, she whispered. "He's sleeping." I sat up straight. "What's wrong?" "I heard him talking," she said. "He said you lied about who you were. That you're rich. That you were testing him." Silence swallowed me. "I don't understand," she continued. "Why would you pretend?" "Because I was scared. Because I don't trust easily. Because I've been used before." But none of those answers made sense for a 7-year-old. "I made a mistake," I said softly. "That's dumb," Lily replied, blunt and honest. "Dad doesn't care about money. He says people matter more." Tears burned behind my eyes. "I know," I whispered. "Did you not like us?" she asked. That broke me. "No, Lily, no. I liked you too much. That's the problem." There was a pause. "I miss you," she said quietly. "Dad's been sad. He gets quiet when he's sad." I pressed my hand over my mouth to steady myself. "I miss you too." "Can't you just say sorry?" Her question felt so simple, so clear, like maybe I'd made everything complicated on purpose. In the background I heard Noah's voice. "Lily, what are you doing up?" "I have to go," she whispered. "But I don't think you're bad." "I think you just messed up." The call ended. I stared at my phone in the dark. Messed up, not evil, not manipulative, not cruel, just wrong. And for the first time I wondered, what if fixing this didn't require strategy? What if it required courage? I drove to his house at 1 a.m. No planning, no script, no disguise, just me. When Noah opened the door, he looked exhausted. "It's late," he said. "I know." My voice shook anyway. "Lily called me." His jaw tightened. "I know she did." "I didn't tell her anything complicated," I rushed. "I just said I made a mistake." He leaned against the door frame, studying me like he didn't know which version of me he was looking at. "Why didn't you trust me?" he asked quietly. There it was, not anger, hurt. I swallowed hard, because I'd been loved for the wrong reasons before. I thought if someone liked me without knowing about the money, then it would be real. "And you decided I needed to prove that?" He replied. "I didn't think it would go this far." His laugh was hollow. "You met my daughter." "I know." The words felt heavier than anything I'd ever said in a boardroom. I didn't expect to care, I admitted. "But I did, I do." Silence stretched between us. "You hurt me," he said finally. "Not because you're rich. Because you lied." I nodded. "I know." "And Lily?" His voice faltered. "She's already had someone leave." "I'm not leaving," I said instinctively. "You already did," he answered softly. That cut deeper than yelling ever could. The front hallway light flicked on. Lily stood there in pajamas, hair messy, eyes sleepy. "Ellie." My chest cracked open. "Hi, Ladybug." She walked straight past Noah and wrapped her arms around me. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. If he shut this door again, it wouldn't just be my heart breaking. It would be hers too. And I didn't know if I deserved the chance to fix that. Lily clung to me like I might disappear again. "Are you staying?" she asked, her voice small but steady. I looked at Noah. That decision wasn't mine. He ran a hand through his hair, tired, torn. "Lily." "Go back to bed," he said gently. "Ellie and I need to talk." She frowned. "You always say talking fixes things." He gave her a look that was half stern, half breaking. "Bed." She hugged me one more time before walking down the hall. The door to her room clicked shut. Silence filled the house. Noah exhaled slowly. "Do you actually care about us?" It wasn't an accusation. It was fear. "Yes," I said immediately. "You stopped being a test the moment you called her Ladybug. The moment I saw the way you look at her, after that, everything was real." He searched my face. "How do I know you're not just saying what sounds good?" "You don't," I admitted. "You just have to decide if I'm worth the risk." His eyes softened slightly. "That's the problem," he said quietly. "I already took the risk." That hit me hard. "I'm not asking you to forget," I said. "I'm asking for a chance to prove I won't lie again." "And if our worlds are too different?" he asked. "You live in penthouses. I live paycheck to paycheck. I don't care about that." "But you're used to control," he pressed. "To running everything. My life isn't something you can manage." He wasn't wrong. "I don't want to manage you," I whispered. "I want to stand beside you." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he stepped back from the door. "Come in," he said. "It's cold." It wasn't forgiveness, but it wasn't rejection either. We sat at his kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten spaghetti. "Tell me something true," he said. "Something unpolished, unscripted." I looked at him, and for the first time in years, I didn't hide. "I'm lonely," I said, and that was the most honest thing I'd said in a very long time. I'm lonely. The word sat between us like something fragile. No boardroom had ever heard that confession. No investor, no journalist, just him. Noah didn't interrupt. He just watched me. I built everything, I continued quietly. The company, the reputation, the control, and somewhere in the process, I stopped being a person. I became a brand. My voice trembled, but I didn't look away. When I was with you and Lily, I didn't feel like a headline. I felt normal. I felt wanted for the right reasons. For pretending to be broke? He asked gently. For being unguarded, I corrected. He leaned back in his chair. I get lonely too, he admitted after a moment. After Lily's mom left, I told myself it was fine. Me and her against the world. But some nights, after she falls asleep, it's quiet. That vulnerability cracked something open in me. I don't want to be your test, he said. And I don't want to be your escape from loneliness either. You're not, I replied quickly. You're the first person I didn't feel like I had to perform for. His eyes searched mine. And Lily? I love her, I said without hesitation. The truth surprised even me. He noticed. You'd have to choose this life, he said slowly. Not visit it, choose it. School pickups, garage grease, a house that needs repairs. I'm not afraid of that, I whispered. You're afraid of losing control, he countered. He wasn't wrong. I took a breath. Then maybe it's time I lose it. That made him almost smile. From down the hallway, Lily's door creaked open again. Are you done talking? She called sleepily. Noah and I exchanged a look. This wasn't fixed. Trust doesn't rebuild overnight. But something had shifted. He reached across the table, took my hand, and for the first time since everything exploded, I felt hope, small, fragile, but real. 3 months later, I stood in front of my executive board and did something no one expected. I'm stepping back, I said calmly. I'll remain chairwoman. But I'm not living inside this company anymore. They thought I was losing my edge. Maybe I was. Or maybe I was finally choosing something sharper, a life. That afternoon, I drove straight to Noah's garage. He was under a truck when I walked in. Music playing, radio static, ordinary. Hey, I called. He rolled out, grease on his cheek, and smiled when he saw me. That smile still does something to my chest. How'd it go, he asked. I chose us, I said simply. He stood up slowly. You sure? No more half-living, I replied. If I'm here, I'm here. He studied me like he had that first night in the diner, not judging, just measuring truth. Later that evening, Lily made us sit at the kitchen table. I have a question, she announced seriously. Noah groaned softly. That tone worries me. She looked at me. Are you going to marry my dad? I nearly choked on water. Noah stared at the ceiling like he'd been ambushed. That's a big question, I said carefully. She folded her arms. You already act like family. I looked at Noah. Fear flickered across his face. Not of commitment, of losing this again. I don't need an answer tonight, I told her gently. But I promise you something. What? She asked. I'm not pretending anymore. No more fake names, no more tests, no more walls. Just truth. Later, after Lily went to bed, Noah and I sat on the porch. You passed my test, I said softly. He shook his head. There was never a test. There was, I admitted. But I finally understand something. What's that? The right person doesn't need to pass anything. He squeezed my hand. And this time I didn't feel like Eleanor Pierce, CEO. I felt like a woman who almost ruined something beautiful, but was brave enough to fight for it. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't testing love. I was trusting it.